Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for a third recording. We may take it another half hour. Might just make it a shorter cut that we can work into another show. But Chris has so much to offer. I said I wanted to end that show on time so we can make it easy to fit our normal schedule. 28 minutes, 30 seconds. But there's so many things we didn't get to talk about.
We're going on 2 hours.
We're going to go on for 2 or 3 hours.
3 hours.
We get some food delivered here. Get the cots out.
Last time I had a sleepover with a buddy was 40 years
40 years ago, okay. Yeah. But we do have, that's funny. We do have room if we had 2 couches, et cetera.
It's a big house.
But yeah, so there's a few things. First off, I want to start off with somebody they've heard about you. You've already had this happen, but and from whatever perspective. But if you're looking for somebody to do your exteriors, Orff Exteriors, as you can see on the wall here behind us, how does somebody get a hold of you for that purpose? And at the same time, they may ask you for business support or just a little bit of insight.
I mean, the best way to do it is you can go to the website at orffexteriors.com. But if you email us at info@orffexteriors.com, that's a good way to get a hold of us. And then another way is, and I got to look at this because we've done stuff like this before, and I give the other company's number out. You'd think I don't ever call us, you know.
Yeah, I don't call you.
I don't call myself, but you can just call the office, and they'll help you out. But 636-377-0673 is the office number, and you know, I almost gave out my cell number. That's what I mean. That's why I got to look at stuff like that. And they'll be happy to help you out, and we'll come out and see what you got and give you a good price.
And so Chris obviously has great insight. So with that, I wanted to just give me one quote that you've had in your life that you thought was very instrumental into helping you develop to where you are.
Oh my gosh.
How many different quotes that you have that you love?
You know what? I almost stopped giving them because it was like they're somebody else's, and I felt like I was stealing all the time. I would honestly say if you Googled Jim Rohn, anything Jim Rohn has ever said is gold, and
true.
It's just Jim Rohn. I just leave it at that.
And that's R-O-N-E, is that right?
It's R-O-H-N.
H-N, that's right. R-O-H-N, that's right. I knew that. But yeah, so it sounds like Rohn with R-O-N-E. Anyway, but Jim, he's like the sales expert guru for every...
He's actually who Tony Robbins started working for. Tony Robbins ran around selling speaking engagements for Jim Rohn.
I did not realize that.
Yeah,
Tony Robbins.
That's where Tony started.
One of my buddies, a guy I got to know through another business venture, ended up being a coach of Tony Robbins back in the day too, and look at what Tony. But another thing, set your mind to something and go after it. Tony Robbins has done amazing big things.
You think he's a billionaire?
He's a billionaire. He's got to be out
with
there.
A B.
And he was a guy that started off with nothing too, wasn't he?
Totally. I mean, he was almost living in his car.
Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable what he's come up. All right. With that, you've talked about. There's a number of businesses that Chris and his family operate and run. If you want to give us a short list of some of the things you guys work on, and people have some insight as to what you do and how many ways you can help them.
Yeah, and all of the businesses do a lot for the community too. I mean, it's not a business that we own, but my uncle and his son Adam, Dean, you know, they have Diddy and Orff Recycling. If you have any recycling needs or stuff to get rid of, that's the premier place in the state. I mean, they're blowing and going. They're growing like crazy. And they're over in St. Peter's. Everybody knows who they are. And they're getting ready to expand. They're expanding right now. They're going to be hiring a lot more people. And that company all started back in the 1800s, which is really crazy. They made stuff for the World's Fair when it was the foundry. And then, like with our businesses, we've got Orff Home Inspections. So we service about 3,000 real estate agents doing thousands and thousands of inspections. And these are all things you can find on the internet, Orff Home Inspections. And then aviation company probably doesn't have a lot to do with what we're doing here, but my daughter has a company called STL Snapchat that she started with my photo booths that we were using for agents and turned it into a business. I still think they're my photo booths, but they're her business. And but Macy does a lot of events and stuff, and she's younger. She also helps run one of my companies, and is just an amazing kid at 21 years old. And my son Keegan owns a trucking company. And then my son Nick, he's one of the top business coaches for REI Print Mail. So if you're a real estate investor, look up REI Print Mail, ask for Nick. They're out of Chesterfield, Missouri. He'll set up a meeting, you tour the area, and he'll make your bank account grow. I can guarantee you that. And then my wife Dory, she's a hairstylist and cosmetologist, and she's got a color line, and she helps other cosmetologists and hairstylists around the country actually be able to bring on their own product line without stocking it all and having it drop ship straight to their customers and getting paid right away. And there's just a whole nother avenue of revenue there. When COVID hit, Dory really realized when they started shutting things down, what do you do in this situation? That's when she was like, how does a hairstylist come up with a residual income? And it would have to be with product, because you can't just cut hair one time, get paid forever. And so you can look up Dory on YouTube or on Facebook at DoryOrf.com or DoryOrf on Facebook, and it's DORIORF. And it's not short for anything. I always get mixed up on that. People are like, is that Doris? No, it's just Dory.
Is that her up here on the top?
It is.
Entrepreneur, 7,000 followers.
That is her, 7,000 followers.
Yeah, you can see here.
Yeah, she is amazing. Just simply amazing. She is that. I've been so lucky. I've had people like Chris Shreves and Dean Orff and all these people that have done so well in the community and stuff that have been my mentors and helped me learn so much and stuff. But that's my rock. That's the reason I do everything, is my wife. Yes. In fact, this is her birthday month.
Birthday month,
day.
that's right. Every day. And she's celebrating her 29th birthday, if I recall.
30.
30.
She's 30.
Okay.
She's 30.
Yeah. I get it. Hey, she looks great.
It's amazing. 30-some years. Yeah, 52 years old. She turns 53 this year.
Oh, wow.
She's like, don't tell people that. But I don't want you to think that I married some 12-year-old. If you do the math and you know my age, we got to tell her age.
Yeah, she's in the
creepy.
ballpark. She looks very young.
Yes.
And it's done great. And we put up a picture. If you look at the picture we used for Chris, and he's got two different titles. There it is. That's her in the corner there.
That's
too.
us down at Silver Dollar City.
Silver Dollar
Great place
City.
to go at Christmas time. Life changing.
One of the best places in Missouri to visit.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And
yeah.
well,
Another thing that we have going on that we're working on with the exteriors company, if you want to see some of our work, I think we mentioned in one of the other clips, we did a lot of work at Oak Street Inn and Lounge, which is the hotel in Cottleville. We did all the roofing and stuff like that. Great place to go to and visit. And then we're working on the hotels and event centers at Central Park. That's events and weddings up in Eola, Missouri. So imagine a multi-million-dollar complex in Eola, Missouri, off of a gravel road on a beautiful farm. This place is phenomenal. I don't know if you know the Madisons that own M&H Concrete here in St. Charles.
I am not familiar.
They do all the streets and everything around here. Rick Madison was like, I got an idea, I got a dream. People can't find venues, and he built that sucker up there, and we'll have it opened in record time in about 30 days for his son's wedding. That is Central Park Events and Weddings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's Oak Street.
Amazing.
If everybody takes a look there.
Yes, there you go.
There's a great looking website.
We'll be there tomorrow night.
Okay, big event.
No, we're just going there to eat. They
Just
have a
going to eat?
restaurant downstairs.
Right.
They had a restaurant downstairs, so that's your evening fun with a beautiful bar. You got hotels upstairs, and then you've got the Pink Willow next door for all your breakfast through lunch. I mean, it's just an amazing thing that Chris has put together.
And that's right there in
Yes.
Cottleville?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
Big old building.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It just seems you've got your hand in so many things. I can't imagine it's just the business consulting thing is what seems most exciting.
That's what I love.
It seems like you've just
I
got a
love
natural
that.
knack for that. But if you would talk about, and I wanted to emphasize for everybody a little bit too, is I'm doing some quick searches to pull up. There's so many businesses. I'll put up on the wall here again. This is Orff Inspections, and I say this is the one. When I walked in the room, everybody knew who Chris Orff was from the inspection side, and he's just like, he knows everything in the industry. He does everything.
When you got 3,000 realtor friends, everybody's going to know who you are.
And I say, that is what you were known for when I walked in. I said, this is the guy right here. There's nobody does better with regard to inspections and everything that goes on.
That's the company that we help more people than anything else we do. It's just because of the volume.
Yeah, and how important is that? I mean, it's a key component for any time there's a home sale. There's got to be an inspection done, and so that you can make sure, and with as much volume as you're doing there, and the connections you've got. Keller Williams, I see you've got a direct link there.
I've actually been privileged to actually get to know Gary Keller.
Really?
Yes, amazing man. Yeah, I just got back from Austin, Texas, a couple of months ago. My wife had business down there, and we were able to go talk to him.
They developed their whole sales system that he developed. Is that true, from what I understand?
Largest real estate company in the world. They have some competition and stuff. Their market is growing, probably more than ever before, but they set the standard for a lot of stuff. Yeah. But all of the companies that we work with are just amazing. Because even like Caldwell Banker, Gundaker. So I know Gordon Gundaker, or knew Gordon Gundaker years ago. I don't even know if he's still alive. I hope he is. But Kevin raced, and then my father-in-law was in racing, and I was in racing, and we met them, and I got to know what Gundaker was like. And then one of my best friends has Remax, and I mean, there isn't a single company out there that we don't do business with, and they're all great. I love them all. My hard thing is I just talked about it on TV. If I mention one, it's like your kids. I'm going to hear about it when this airs.
Well, what about me?
You talked about them. What about me? I'm like, okay, I'll buy lunch. No, go back. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to have to come back and run through a list.
Well, we can do that.
So,
And we will
absolutely.
take time for you to do so because there's so much you offer. What is it that gives you the most satisfaction out of what you get to do? Of all the things you've put out there in the universe, what do you enjoy most?
It's helping people. I literally intentionally go out of my way to help people. When I see a need, I mean, today I'm driving down the road and I hear on the radio about what happened in Asheville. And one of the first things that went through my mind is my son owns a trucking company. We got that covered. Diddy North's got trucks. We'd get one from there if we had to. If I gave this to my cousin, he would be like, it's a cause, let's do it. And then I'm like, who do I know that bottles water? You know, and my mind was just going to town on who do I know, how can we pull this together, and how can we do that? And there's something else we're going to do, and I'm not going to say what it is. You'll have to go to the schoolhouse in Cottleville after Christmas, and you're going to see 3 amazing things there that I'm going to lend them, and that
Okay.
will just like shine like crazy.
Well, tell me if you get
that will be on
the same.
display.
I get essentially a high.
I do.
From
It's
helping
euphoric.
people.
It's euphoric.
And it gives you that feeling of it is a euphoric
Mm-hmm.
feeling where you feel like you are on top of the world just because you took a little time to
Right.
give somebody a little insight. And especially when you see them bounce back or recover,
Right.
or the light goes on when they were so despondent or disconnected
Well,
and so down on life. That's what life to me is all about.
I know we're out of time, but 2 things. One, it's just like when we got a phone call from the city of St. Peters, and then all of a sudden a call comes in from Better Business Bureau, and they said, we didn't know who to call, we're calling you. And then there was a school teacher that had cancer, and her husband had passed away, and she was older, and her house, nobody took care of the house. The whole house was falling in. It took 80-some sheets of plywood. We went to work on it, and my office was like, what are you doing? We're so busy. We got so much going on. We're exhausting resources on this. Why are you doing this? And I said, trust me, just go with it. We wound up finding grant money for her, and then we picked up the tab on the rest of it. After the fact, we found out what an impacting teacher she was. And all of a sudden, the phone started ringing like crazy. We never did it to get more business. We did it because she was in need. She's in our community, and she needed help. And my daughter, who now works closely with me and has met a lot of the people of influence that we know, and she started, do you have the charity? Did
Yeah.
you have that pulled up?
Yeah, we did. I'll put
She
that
did a
some-
fundraiser for this the other night. Blew my mind. They raised 50% of what they need to put this in. And it's Safe Haven baby boxes. And she brought that to me, and she goes, Dad, I want to start spending. And my daughter's on salary, so I'm like, anything she wants to do, I pay for it. So she says, I want to do this with another agent, a really good friend. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And then I started looking at what it was, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I remember in school hearing stories of babies being put in dumpsters, babies being dropped off on front doorsteps, babies being left in the cold at the front of a hospital, because moms are in situations to where, they can't care for them, so they do things with them, whether it's good or bad, just awful, some of the stories. This is like if you were to go to the bank and the drawer comes out, you put your money in, and then it goes back in, right?
Right.
That's what this is, but it's attached to a firehouse, and the mom can literally anonymously go up, hit the button, the door opens, put the baby in it, the door closes, and it's a controlled environment. It locks, and all the alarms go off, and they come to the rescue of the baby. And my daughter brought this to me, and I'm like, that's awesome. And I thought we were going to raise money and send it somewhere. And I'm like, I love causes that are national causes. I love them, okay? But there's a whole lot of people helping out with them. You got to stay within my bubble, which is this county. And when it's within this county or close to it, Lincoln County, Warren County, things like that, even St. Louis to an extent. But St. Charles and, the St. Peters area is my heart and soul. And when she said that they were working with a local fire department right here in St. Charles, and this was going to be the first one in the whole area, I was like, count me in. I wrote a check. My friend started writing checks, and then she throws this event. And it's like she's only got a few $1,000s more to raise, and it's like a $25,000 deal. And, can save lives. And it'll be right here in our community. This is the stuff I love, is being intentional, not worrying about, well, how much did you spend on it because you're making X amount. No, do whatever you got to do. And I walked into that room and the other day, and there's all these mouse races. You ever been to a mouse race?
Many.
That's some redneck funny stuff. I couldn't believe it because I'm in boat racing, and that's a big difference. But I walked in there, and I felt like a rock star because that was my daughter that helped put all that on. And there was all these friends and people from all over the county, and they were just so excited because of the cause. But that's intentional. And now she's laid up for a week because she exhausted herself to a point to where she is sick. literally. And the doctor said, you've exhausted yourself. But that's being intentional. That's putting other people in front of yourself.
Well, I would like to add to that. If you ever are down on your luck, you feel as things are not going your way, go out, spend some time helping someone else. And
Absolutely.
you will literally see how your life turns around. I think the analogy I heard or somewhere in the Bible, it says, whatever you give, you will receive tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you know, I taught my kids, don't even go into the store unless you take a card in with you. At wintertime, my staff will
Right.
literally go to Walmart, and it's the same guy that's been pushing carts in O'Fallon Walmart for the last God knows how many years.
Right.
And when it's really bad weather, I'm like, everybody, let's go to Walmart real quick, and we start bringing all these carts in at Christmas. You know, we don't get paid for that. You know, one of the greatest companies I ever learned customer service from, I was able to work with Home Depot for a while. And this was back before COVID. After COVID, customer service went down everywhere.
Right.
But prior COVID, I never saw a company that gave better customer service than a Home Depot. And I got to meet their vice presidents and their management and all that. And when I learned their philosophy behind it, we adopted all of that into our companies. So we took $82 billion companies' ideas and put them into our little ORF companies.
so we talked about that a little bit in the pregame prep. How important is it to find a good mentor, somebody that can help you?
It's critical.
You can't make it without
It's
it.
critical because if it wasn't for my uncle picking me up every single time that I fell and made a mistake, going, now you know more, keep going, don't stop, or that's a tragedy. It's a learning experience. Unless you quit, then it's a tragedy. And when we started the home inspection business, we actually sought out. Actually, I was introduced to him, not knowing who he was, but then we got on the hunt to really suck up everything we could from him. But we found the biggest, baddest home inspection company in the entire United States. And we said, well, we want to know what you're doing and how you do it, and we'll pay you to learn. And a lot of people say, well, how did your inspection company grow so fast, and how did it get so big, and how do you have all these things in place? You know, we're just figuring this out after 20 years of doing it. Well, it's very simple. We spent $100,000 a year in coaching. So I literally made no money for the first 3 years. And
Wow.
we built systems and a company that's like no other.
So coaching is critical. If you're
It's
not
critical.
getting the right mentorship.
Find a mentor. Some of it you don't have to pay for,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
but you have to have somebody teach you.
sure. Does it seem you can at least get a start? There's this new thing called YouTube. Is that a good place to at least start, or what? How much do you think you can gain from that?
I think you can gain a lot from YouTube.
Really.
And
Okay.
I say that because everything that I have going on, from my house remodel I just did to firearms that I just purchased and I don't know anything about that gun and what optics to put, it's all YouTube. You can go to YouTube for everything.
Yeah, I talk about that. One of the speeches I gave was to the Realtors Association over in Illinois, across the river, and I said to him, I said, bottom line is this. He said, one of the best things you said to the group was, because everybody can find an excuse. There's always a reason to figure out why you can't do something.
Right.
And I said, today the rules have changed. There is no excuse because it's
Right.
all available out there. If you are willing to learn, you can go do that, and the resources are out there. Back in the day, I mean, before YouTube was such a big thing, I built a Microsoft Exchange server because I got the demo version, which was a free thing that Microsoft gave you for training purposes, and I built a server in my basement, right? And that's how I had to learn.
Yeah.
But once I did that, now I give myself a leg up, and I can say I'm one out of 3,000 people in the United States that can build a Microsoft Exchange server. And then it took off from there. I was doing them for Anheuser-Busch. But you've got to take the opportunity to do those things. And
Right.
now it's so much easier.
Everything
to
is
get
at
those-
your fingertips. There's no excuse for anything. I mean, if you want to know how to run your business and stuff, all you got to do is go on YouTube and look at Traction. You know, there's a book called Traction. It'll tell you that one book will tell you how to set your whole company up.
Really?
You just do it. Just do what it says.
And
Don't
there's so much
question
out there. I
it.
had not heard that one, but there's
Oh my
so
gosh.
much out there.
Rocket Fuel. It's about the visionary and the integrator.
Yeah.
And you got to understand each other, and you got to have both, or it just won't work. And if, like, I'm a visionary, so I walk in the office, I'm like, I got ideas, and we're going to do this, and we're bringing on this product line. We found talent, so we're going to start a company around the talent. And they're like, just get out of here, because I confuse everybody, and I throw stuff all over the wall. Then when I come back, though, the integrators are all sitting there going, is this what you're talking about? And they put it all together. And I'm like, that's it, because my mind isn't wired that way. So if you're the visionary that starts things and doesn't stop or doesn't finish them, you're not broken. That's the way we're wired. But you got to have that integrator that puts it all together. And you got to find that person, and they're priceless. I had the best integrator you could ever want, and we weren't growing fast enough to sustain keeping him, and I lost him. And it was one of the hardest things that ever happened to me in my life.
But yeah, I mean, a bottom line is training, expertise,
Yes.
guidance. Get the right, because how many times do you want to go out and reinvent the wheel, starting from scratch, learning the same lessons over and over again? If you can have that mentor that can help guide you. I've been fortunate. I learned a long time ago. That's where I got introduced to Jim Rohn, ROHN, and so many other well-known Art Williams from the old Primerica days.
Yep.
I did the Primerica thing back in the day.
That's why I learned if you don't have an edge, create an edge. I had the privilege of actually getting to know Art years and years ago. Yeah, back in the 90s.
Yeah, and such a legendary guy. But his one of his best quotes and one of his best videos we all had to watch. I'll remember it was, "Just do it." Well, what Bob? I got to do what guy gets in the temperature. Just do it. Well,
two things. Art Williams.
Do it.
Just do it. And you watch that on YouTube. Art Williams. Just do it. You got to watch it. Just do it. And then one of the other famous things that he said was, and this is very critical, especially when you're in business, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough, because you can't do any more than that.
But if you put that in, if you put the effort in, it's so often that people they give up before, and they're halfway there.
Right.
And they say, "Oh, I'm worn out." If you could have just put a little bit more into it, that would have kept it going.
Right.
I love that picture of the guy there's two guys. They show them, and they're hacking away in the caverns, trying to get to the gold, and they can't see how far they are from it. The one guy gives up. The other guy keeps going, and that neither one
Inches
of them knew
away.
that they were like 2 more hacks away from getting
Right.
there. But when the guy gave up,
Yep.
and so how
Yeah,
often
and one more thing that you can edit in or out. One of the things that businesses are lacking when I go in and I do some consulting or coaching, which are two different things. It depends on what's going on. But the one thing that I don't ever see is, what's your vision? And they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, I want to be this, or I want to grow like that. If you walk into one of my offices, the home inspection business over in O'Fallon off of Mexico, going down the hallway, I think it's about 14 pages or so. And it's a 3-year vision that my wife and I go away for a think week every year. And we revamp that. And it's so detailed as to where the company is going, and it's my vision of what it looks like when it's done at the end of the 3 years. And I've had people go, "That won't work. That it's impossible. There's no way it'll ever happen." And the first thing you do with somebody like that is you get them out of your organization. You can't have them in there. The Cardinals don't succeed when they've got 4 players going, "Ain't gonna happen. We'll never make it." That's not how it works. And so you got to have people around that buy into your vision. But if it's so detailed, every single time we do that, within 1 year we hit 75% of the 3-year goal. If we don't write it down and we don't talk about it and keep it in front of us, if it doesn't happen. When I walk into the office, if the girls have written up on the board, we're going to do X amount of inspections this week, we hit it almost every single time. If they forget to put it up, our numbers come in low.
you don't hit 100% of the goals you don't shoot at. Right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But yeah, if you set a target, that's a much easier way to attain what you're going for, because it's something to keep aspiring for. But if you have kind of nothing set up there, you won't make it.
Real quick, if you're interested in this, I don't really have a lot of information on it, but Facebook friend my daughter, Macy Orf, MACEYORF, and just reach out to her on Facebook, and she'd be happy. Or call the inspection company, Orf Home Inspections, and she'd be happy to talk to you about it. But it's one of the greatest causes that I've seen that I didn't know about. And we do stuff all the time. We're always getting phone calls from mayors and different things of different organizations needing help, and we're always there to help.
And
we even order extra cattle at the end of the year to butcher just to give it away.
And something I left on the screen there for a second, inadvertently. I'm going to first show what you were talking about there, but here is that organization, Safe Haven Baby Boxes. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you, I wanted to ask you first, how much of success is the mental part of the game? We talked about it there a little bit. When you write a target up on the board, then it's something mentally to shoot for. But if you don't, that's an exercise that you're not going to get there if you don't have those kinds of targets. Right. A guy have you ever heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Oh, slightly.
Yeah, I was going to say he's one of the best.
I've met him about 3 times, and I've actually studied his work a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dr. Joe literally talks about, and it was really the reason I believe I recovered from the coma that the doctors didn't think I was going to, was because I had already been trained by my father, who essentially adopted these philosophies, which was, you just keep plugging. You're programming. A chemical is created and released whenever you have a thought.
Right.
And how does that chemical then process through the system and create the way
your
that your body...
surroundings are huge. Have you ever heard about the Japanese study on water?
No, tell me this. Maybe I have.
This is amazing. So the Japanese took, and this has been reprinted in different versions and stuff, and a friend of mine wrote about it in his book. Thomas Blackwell wrote a book about the secrets of our language, or our language revealed, and he talks about it in there. But what they did was they took water from the same source, 2 jars, beaker jars, and then they separated them out. One of them they played heavy metal music to. The other one they played Edelweiss to. Then they froze the water, and then they looked at it under a microscope after it froze. The one that they played the heavy metal music to was brown and distorted in the cells. The other one looked like snowflakes.
I've seen that.
So they continue to go on with the study, and this is very critical because what they found out is the environment, from verbiage to noise, music, thoughts, all kinds of stuff, which is what Joe talks a lot about. It affects everything that's around. And if you look at, and no disrespect if you love heavy metal music, because I know some people that are successful that listen to it, but for the majority,
Right.
you can pick that sucker out in the crowd, okay? Because there's some issues going on a lot of times. And then you look at somebody who's listening to opera music all the time or symphonies and stuff, and they're like so peaceful and all that. It actually changes the chemical makeup of the cell, okay, in the water. Music does. Words do, okay? Now here's the thing. What are we mostly made of?
Water.
Water. So have you ever been in an environment listening to politics too much, maybe? Okay? Or listening to somebody who's just down in the mouth? Have you ever been in a room? Because it'll make you sick. It'll depress you, right?
You can't be around somebody.
That's not just mental. It's doing it to every cell in your body.
Becomes physical, yeah.
Have you ever been in a room and you just know that sucker just walked in? They're 3 rooms away. And you're like, they're here. They're here. Or they're here. You know, you can sense people. You feel people. And, the whole thing on energy and stuff, I just read a study a while back that about 8 years ago, they had a machine that could literally, from 4 feet away, it was proving that my heart was talking to your heart. Now they can do that up to 30 feet away. Have you ever thought of somebody and 5 minutes later they call you?
Yeah, I've had that. Yeah.
They just haven't figured out that with a machine yet.
Yeah.
But there's so much to that. It's the whole stinking thinking deal, and what we dream about and think about comes about. You just got to be careful, especially in today's time with all the garbage going on, the fighting and the crap.
Yeah,
and I've even got caught up in it before. I've watched companies go out of business over this crap. But, people saying, well, I'm going to wait until see how November goes and then I'll make my business decisions. Oops. You put your head down, you plow forward, you put your vision in place, and while everybody else is freaking out, pissed off, crying, or whatever, you just plow right through it and you take advantage of that. You cannot get caught up in the crap. You can't stop a war. World War II, look at everything that happened to this country. Everybody kept on plowing forward. We wound up okay.
There's so much more. We've down to the last 30 seconds. I wanted to add to that. I just saw a YouTube article or video where they talked about when they have learned how to transmit radio transmission for a radio telescope rather than an optical telescope. They can, when they focus on an object millions of miles away, the temperature is automatically transferred to their observation piece through the telescope. Mm-hmm. Really amazing stuff that goes on there. How much of that we still don't understand? Yep. That's going to make a big difference.
Just make people smile.
You got it.
And you can't make people smile without smiling.
There you go. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up.